After a firestorm engulfed the web in response to Richard Dawkins' tweet towards a female Twitter follower that it would be immoral for her to bring a Down syndrome fetus into the world, he since issued an apology.
The haters come from various directions. Your quarrel is not just with me, but prevailing medical opinion. I have sympathy for this emotional point, but it is an emotional one, not a logical one. It is one of a common family of errors, one that frequently arises in the abortion debate. Another version is the great Beethoven fallacy.
Calling this an apology is about like calling the forced internment of Japanese Americans during World War II a paid vacation. He clarifies his argument for sure, and it makes a lot more sense in the post, but that raises the question, why not just put the answer in a post to begin with? Why in 144 characters preach that something is immoral? There is a way to say that in 144 characters. It's very simple. Here you go. I wouldn't presume what to tell you as a woman, but if I had a Down's fetus instead of a penis, I would abort. That's under 144 characters, and it even kind of rhymes, and plus you get to say penis. It's not even really the tweet that bothers me so much, because we all say stuff we don't necessarily mean in offhanded comments, and even on Twitter. And the thing is, a person like Professor Dawkins, he has got so many followers and so many people commenting. The fact that he even responds to any of them is pretty admirable. Honest. You're going to say something that's stupid at some point, and something you probably don't even believe. However, when you start digging a foxhole, it reveals that you did mean what you said. And that's my issue here. It's not that he said something stupid, it's that he's digging his feet in and saying, no, I am ableist, and I do believe that this is okay. But who cares? He's the most popular scientific philosopher since Stephen Jay Gould, the only difference being that Stephen Jay Gould had something called common sense. You don't utter this phrase in an ableist context on the internet and not expect a backlash. It doesn't take a scientist, rocket or otherwise, to understand that. But the great thing about shocking examples of misspeaking, as politicians put it, is that it prompts all manner of comment troll species to emerge from the internet woodwork. Let's take a look at 3 species which appear in the comment section of Professor Richard Dawkins' apology post. Following the Professor Dawkins' footsteps is the cold rationalist. This person thinks that because what they say sounds logical and reasonable to them, and because they are 100% honest, they are therefore free from all criticism. It's kind of like George Lucas making a movie. Whenever I see a family with a Down syndrome child, I feel sorry for them. Other children in the family can be adversely affected because this situation impacts on their lives as well. When called on her cold rationality and ableist ideology, Nithya responds thusly. I expected such a response, though I hope you appreciate the fact that I was being brutally honest and not resorting to false sentimentality. Do you want a golf clap for judging a family who brings a Down syndrome child into this world because you weren't sentimental in an internet comments thread? Then there's the ivory tower wannabe intellectual, this time against the Dawkins side with this bit of verbiage. Does seem to entail utilitarian calculative morality espoused. Various discrete instances of things. Kind of lost it there. Passed into commensurable units. There we go. H3000, this is the internet, not the Acropolis in ancient Greece, by way of Shakespeare. Tone it down. The substance of H3000's argument is pretty good though, so that means only one thing. The arrival of our next species, the home field advantage debate captain, who is the real ivory tower intellectual. Listen to what this dude says.
Dawkins would probably fail your post under the category of the tyranny of the discontinuous mind.
Which is the title of a piece written by Professor Dawkins back in 2011. Aside from being a really pretentious phrase, the application is hilariously hypocritical. Professor Dawkins basically said in his post that people who suffer from the tyranny of the discontinuous mind are people who see the world as 1 and 0, either or, right or wrong. Professor Dawkins could very easily have titled that post The Tyranny of the Digital over the Analog, or The Tyranny of the Binary over the Spectrum, Reductionism and its Discontents, or any other number of titles that aren't as intentionally off-putting or abstract or ivory tower. The irony is that in his identification of a global historical problem of people who rightly see things on a spectrum and people who wrongly see things as either or, Dawkins does a curious thing. He gives us an either or. You're either a person with a discontinuous mind who is an idiot who only sees things as either ors, or you're a continuous-minded person who sees the spectrum between these things. But you just made a post about how you can either be continuous or discontinuous. Bringing that back to the tweet in question, you see a person who doesn't abort a Down syndrome fetus as immoral. Is that a trait of a discontinuous mind there, Professor Dawkins?
This just in, Professor Richard Dawkins diagnoses himself as having a discontinuous mind. What does that mean? Nobody knows.
Commenter Sedan could have easily responded to H3000 by saying, you think Down syndrome fetuses are fully fetuses, whereas Dawkins sees them on a spectrum. You don't see the difference between the two. A fetus is always a fetus is always a fetus to you because you're an idiot. But continuity-minded Professor Dawkins and I, we realize there's a spectrum of fetus value, and a full fetus is a 1, but a Down syndrome fetus is more like a 15 out of 16 or 11 out of 16, depending on how bad they might be. Because we can totally tell everything about what's going to happen in the future. Science! But Sedan can't say that because that shows too much of his ideological hand and reveals that both he and Professor Dawkins really believe that a Down syndrome fetus is inferior to a normal fetus. So rather than just stand up and say that, they hide behind words that most people won't understand or will confuse the argument a bit. This has 3 benefits. They can win the argument, keep their unpopular God mode eugenics ableist agenda hidden, and 3, make fun of their opponents for getting lost in purposefully unclear language. In other words, they want to win debates and look smart and never have to apologize, because that's totally scientific and rational. Or it's just a big power grab. I don't always want to be this discontinuous of mind, as Professor Dawkins would put it in these vlogs. I'd rather have a more balanced and continuous approach, but I really just disagreed with what Professor Dawkins tweeted. I think his tweet was exceedingly cynical, and I find his apology a hurricane of hot air PR. To people who are like, why are you sweating so much? Because I don't have an AC in here and it's really hot. To normal fans of this channel, would you like to see more stuff like this? Thank you. Until next time, keep it creative, keep it cross-cultural, which I didn't really do in this video, and keep it constructive, which, come to think of it, I really didn't live up to any of the core values of this channel, which means this video will probably go viral. Prove me wrong, Internet.
Was that a bad person? I'm scared.
What do you have for me?
I was transponded. With awareness, I'll be able to tell where you are, until I had reached the thieves during the heist.
Genius.
No, it's really not.
You always eat so much food.
When someone else is buying, totally. Thanks.